We just recorded half an episode and the camera wasn't rolling. Just one button. I couldn't push one button.
Well,
Yeah.
you know.
Hi, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Bethany.
And the thing about love is,
We give it and receive it differently.
so we got a comment from one of our viewers, Aaron, thank you Aaron, who said, what are some good ways to love a partner whose love language is not yours? So if you're not familiar with the term love language, it's a term that was popularized by Dr. Gary Chapman, and he's got a book called The 5 Love Languages. But nowadays, people use the term love language just to refer to the different ways in which we give and receive love.
You say different languages, you're like, really? Like, I don't understand what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
That's how different sometimes it can feel between person to person.
Have you ever felt like you were pouring yourself into someone, you were doing for that person what you would have loved to have had done back to you, and they weren't responding the way you expected? I remember hearing this little anecdote. I have no idea if this is true or where I heard this, but I just remember this story of like this old couple. They're celebrating their anniversary and he gets up early and he makes breakfast for her and brings her like breakfast in bed on a tray. And she looks at it and she starts crying and he says, honey, what's wrong? And she says, you gave me the heel of the bread. You always give me the heel of the bread. I hate the heel of the bread. I thought after all these years you would be nice enough not to do that. And he said, but I love the heel of the bread. Like, that's my favorite part. I always give it to you because I assume you would want that, because I would want that.
When we first got married, I really thought that it would be super important to Joseph if I did things for him all the time. Oh, let me go make tea for him, or let me, I'm gonna clean the whole house so he doesn't have to do anything.
And she's a hard worker.
I love to just do for him.
Which is important in all fairness. So it's different to say something is not important than it's not really part of our love language, because, you know, the fact that you made dinner or cleaned the house or something was important to me. I definitely noticed it and I appreciated it. In my mind, I was thinking she's doing that because she also needs to eat. She needs a clean house. She's not really doing that for me. Am I going to work thinking of her every second of the day, or am I going to do work because work needs to get done? So is that really an expression of love to her? It might be.
It might be, and it might not be. And depending on the person, you got to figure out what that is. What's special to them? What's important to them? What makes them feel loved?
So what are some things that we could do to help us understand that other person and how they give and receive love?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is ask good questions, which you are really good at, by the way. If there was a degree in asking good questions, he would have like the highest.
Because I have a lot of questions. But as a general rule, there's just nothing more basic and effective than asking that person, what are some things that I've done for you that you really received well and enjoyed? And what are some things that maybe we don't do that you'd really enjoy?
Sure, yeah. What made you feel special that I did this last week?
If you want to depersonalize that, you don't have to ask about yourself, because then maybe you'll start feeling like, oh man, this is super personal. So sometimes it's good to just ask, like, what are some things people did for you in your life? Like maybe before I met you that really made you feel special, or that made you feel neglected. Either way, you can start to get clues on what it is that person really cares about and what makes them feel loved.
Something that we have instituted lately, and I am loving, is Team Time. It's an acronym. That's the right word, right? Acronym.
Yes.
I'm really.
It's a series of capital letters that go with word.
4 questions. T.E.A.M is the acronym.
So the T stands for?
A trial.
Yes.
What is a trial that you've had?
What was something hard for you? And let that person talk about it. You might be surprised. Sometimes the things you said were trials. I was like, I didn't even know she was sad about that.
Yeah. And I think it's super important that you let that person talk. Don't get defensive when they talk about their trial, because it's their time to express.
Yeah, team time isn't about fixing. It's just about hearing and listening to one another.
Yeah. E is something that you are excited about. What is something you're excited about?
That'll give you some insight as to what it is that really sparks their imagination, what it is that they're loving, and maybe they haven't had time to tell you yet. And then the A stands for actions. What are some things you did this week that are going towards your goals?
And the M stands for moved. What is something that moved you this week? Whether it's a movie, conversation you had, something that really touched your emotions this week. And this one is especially difficult for me because I have a hard time with emotional movement.
Yeah. I'm the emotional of the two. So while you were gone, Catherine was cleaning her room and she put on the soundtrack for The Greatest Showman, and that song A Million Dreams came on, and I was in here doing something else. I think I was like trying to work, and I'm hearing this song from the other room, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this song is just like making me
Wrecking
emotional.
you.
Yeah. I struggle with knowing when she's emotional, because it's not that she doesn't have them, it's that the two of us express them in very different ways.
Very different ways. Another action that you can take is take a quiz. Learn about yourself and learn about your spouse. One of the ones that I enjoy right now is the Enneagram quiz. The Enneagram quiz tells you a lot about kind of who you are. Be careful not to stereotype the other person though. There are lots of other quizzes that you can take online. There are lots of personality tests. You can do the 5 love languages quiz.
We don't go by these as gospel, right? Because each person is really unique, but these quizzes can sometimes help you understand some averages of your partner that maybe you hadn't considered. But in addition to just taking quizzes like the 5 love languages, the Enneagram, or relationship quizzes, maybe just take a quiz about anything else. Like, what was your childhood like? Go on BuzzFeed and look up quizzes about movies. See what that person knows. Engage with that person and get to understand them better.
As you're learning more about your partner, cater to what they enjoy. Speak their love language.
So if you know your partner really appreciates things like gift giving, for example, maybe you're not naturally a gift giver. Maybe you gotta schedule that or put a reminder on your phone and it feels sort of weird and you don't know what to buy them. That's all right.
One of the coolest things is when I found out that he has a calendar for me. He has an entire calendar that I can't see on Google.
Which I didn't think was cool. I thought it was so not romantic just because I'm not good at remembering to do those sorts of things. Gift giving is not my love language. So remembering to bring you things or cards or flowers was things I thought was probably nice that I should do, but there was just no way I was naturally going to remember to do that.
But it meant so much to me that knowing that it's not something he's naturally going to remember, he put it on his calendar.
And I can say after years and years of doing that, I don't have to use my calendar as much anymore. When it comes to love language, sometimes it's really not the quantity. It's just the quality of that interaction and those really small interactions and shows of affection that indicate that you understand what they do and do not feel loved by. And then the biggest thing is really to just appreciate the diversity. Because sometimes what we fall into this trap of doing is thinking, well, this person has a particular love language, so I need to conform myself around their love language. You might be the sort of personality type who gives up your own language in exchange for that other person. And that isn't what we want to do, because your language is going to be really valuable.
You'll be able to communicate more effectively if you're speaking in your own language than if you're trying to push yourself into their box. Be you, be unique, and it's okay.
Find ways of engaging your strengths so that you can serve that other person's needs in the relationship. Maybe you feel more loved when someone just sits down across the table and talks to you. And maybe they feel more loved when they get flowers brought to them. Neither of you are wrong in that scenario, so don't be ashamed of the things that make you feel loved. Make sure you're willing to communicate that with your partner. Otherwise, they're never going to know why they don't seem to get the reactions they want.
It's important to listen to yourself and to know yourself in order to express it to your partner.
The best practice isn't sitting around and figuring it out. It's actively trying to engage with them, and sometimes you're going to get it wrong.
If you feel like you've tried a lot of the things that we've mentioned and it still feels like it's just not working, that you're just not connecting, maybe go right back to the top. Start with those questions. Am I doing things that are making you feel loved? Those conversations really are the key to getting to know the person.
Be patient with your partner. This is a really deep and intimate thing that we're discussing. Sometimes having these conversations can feel vulnerable. Sometimes we don't know even what to say. Like maybe no one has ever asked us these questions. So take some time, be patient, practice, and be okay with failing and communicating openly and safely about this. And let us know what your love language is or what your personality is like. What is it that makes you feel loved? And what is it that really doesn't work for you at all?
Comment below. Or what is an experience?
This is not gonna work.
It's not gonna work. Sorry.
You were looking at me on the screen again.
But only because I saw something out of the corner of my eye.
That's selfish.